Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Limitless podcast. I'm so honored to be with you today. Thank you for joining me again on this Tuesday. Today, I have a special guest with me. So, I met Erica actually through kind of scoped her out a little bit on LinkedIn and absolutely fell in love with her story. So, I have asked Erica Rankin to come today and share with you. She is such a truly a beautiful soul. And we had conversation before we decided to record this podcast. And I'm like, this girl, she is something else. So before I tell you the things that she has done and achieved, I just want you to know a little bit about what I see through her. She is Erica, I don't know if you even know that I remembered all this, but she's 30 years old and so wise beyond her years. The things that this woman has been through, it actually took me almost an entire lifetime to learn the lessons that she has already learned in this life. So I know she is here to impact and change so many lives. She is going to be a change maker to really help this world evolve and grow into truly what we are all here to do is to evolve and grow to the highest, greatest, best versions of ourselves. So Erica Rankin, really what she does is she helps women own their own story, build their self-worth to where you're really feeling enough. So that's really what we all want, right? She is the founder of Thrive from the Inside, and she is the podcast host of You're Not a Bad Person. So, welcome, Erica. I am so honored to have you with me and can't wait for this conversation and just for you to be able to share your experience with the audience.
Yeah, thank you for having me and thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Yes, yes, you're such a beautiful, beautiful person. And I'm so honored that you said yes to this podcast and super excited for you just to share a little bit about your journey. I remember us having conversations about all of the different things that you have done in your life and in your short 30 years. And I would love for you just to share a little bit more about you and we will just have this beautiful conversation together.
Sure, yeah. So I guess I've been on a healing journey in the past year and a bit. In 2019, I launched my first business. I got into entrepreneurship because I felt like there was more for me. I went to school, I got a bachelor's in psychology, and I was in my field for about a year. And I looked around at my desk, in a cubicle surrounded by other people and thought, is this it? Like, is this the end? Is this what I worked so hard for? And I remember listening to entrepreneurship podcasts at my desk, and it gave me the motivation to quit my job. So I quit my job. I went on a 3-month trip to Southeast Asia in hopes of finding myself. I've just been chasing this thing for so long, not knowing exactly what it was to feel enough, and was trying to get it from all these different places. And one of those places was in business. And I launched Broda, which was a protein cookie dough company, in December of 2019, 3 months before the pandemic. And I grew that over the span of 4 years. I launched it into hundreds of stores, and I just realized that that was no longer for me. I didn't want to be a part of the hustle anymore. I was putting my physical and mental health on the back burner, and I decided to shut it down. And I ended up having to file for bankruptcy in April of 2024. So I spent the past year healing. I did healing retreats. I did the most self-development or inner work that I've probably ever done in my entire life. And I'm just learning to redefine what success is for me and what is fulfilling for me, and learning how to live a life on my own terms, not for others, which I think a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into the story about looking for the place where I'm enough, because I think that is something that speaks to all of us, but we don't really recognize that we're looking for our worth and our value in the outside world. So, what are some of the things that you experienced that you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, and maybe this is it? Maybe this is what's going to make me feel enough.
Gosh, I've done so many things. Part of my story that was kind of a blip was when I was working my 9 to 5 job. I wasn't making a lot of money. I had this like void that wasn't filled, and I know it has a lot to do with my upbringing and the love that I've received from my parents, but I was just searching for this love from men. And I stumbled across an ad on Craigslist and I ended up getting into sex work. And I fell into sex work and was in and out of that industry probably for 7 years. And at first, it felt very powerful and fulfilling. And I thought, wow, I have the upper hand. I'm making all this money. This is the thing, the missing piece that I needed. And as I spent more and more time in the industry, it just really broke me down. And it was just like a cycle that I was in. And I was constantly battling all of these thoughts and these demons and felt like I couldn't get out of it. And it wasn't fulfilling anymore. And it also was really hard because I was very um, I guess, fixated on my physical body, how I looked. And when you're in that industry, you're an object. People pay for a service and you're objectified and you have tons of people commenting on your body. So then I fell into the trap of plastic surgery and I spent nearly $50,000 on getting so many body modifications, getting a breast lift, getting implants, getting gum surgery, veneers, getting liposuction, a nose job. Like I've got
Wow.
countless plastic surgeries. And it just became this chase. Like the finish line kept moving. It's like, okay, once I get this surgery, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be enough. I'm going to love my body that I'm in. But there was just always something else on top of it. And I think you just become so exhausted with the chase. And it's like, okay, this is obviously not working for me. What do I do? How do I learn to love who I am and not keep going down this road because it's so expensive, exhausting, it's not fulfilling. And then on top of that, the eating disorders, I fell into bodybuilding and I thought, oh, this is going to fix everything. I'm going to get super lean. I'm going to get all of the approval and praise from my peers, which I did. But the best that I looked, and you know this because I know you competed too, the best I looked was the most unhealthy I've ever been. Like I could barely walk up 2 flights of
Yes.
stairs. I would have to hold the railing, and I lost my period for a year and a half. And when you get so lean, and as a woman, you should not be that lean. Your body fat should not go below a certain percentage. Your hormones get all fucked up, and you're doing crazy
Sure.
things to your body. I remember, I think I got in a car accident as well during prep week because my brain, like, I wasn't just like I couldn't think. You're not consuming enough calories or fat for your body to process things properly or work properly. So. I guess I was just doing all of these things like the sex work, the plastic surgery, the entrepreneurship, like hustle, zero options mentality, go all in, build a successful business, get all of the praise, make the money. And when all of that was stripped away and I lost my business last year, I was just kind of sitting alone with my thoughts. And it's like, okay, who am I at the end of the day? Who am I? And what are the things that matter to me? And how can I learn to just sit in the silence and be comfortable with who I am as a person? Because I was so busy doing things all of these years to distract myself, like being in the sex work, being in the business day to day, just not giving myself the ability to just sit and tune in because we're not taught how to do that really,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So, yeah, so true. We really, we are busy being busy and we're not allowing, we can't hear the voice of our soul. We can't hear the voice of God. We can't hear any of those things because we're so busy and trying to look for our purpose and our enoughness in the world when truly the journey is all about radical self-acceptance, is
Mhm.
learning to accept this body that our soul encompasses and who we are as a person, and it's a lifetime journey. But what impresses me so much about you and your age group in particular, you guys are so insightful and seem to get the inner work and the healing piece of it so much quicker than, obviously, I mean, my mother had none of that. So I didn't learn that kind of work through her. It was something that I had to journey on my own over, a period of 8 years. But I want to just take a minute and just honor you truly for the courage and the bravery that you have had to go through the experiences that you did and come out on the other side and are here now sharing your story to really impact so many other women. And that is, first of all, super brave and courageous to admit that you fell into the trap of sex work. So thank you for that. And just all of the other things that you have done that are going to speak to so many women. Yeah, yes, I am in that trap of looking for my worth and value in the world. And we know, being on the other side of that, that absolutely doesn't work because you will always be on that chase. But how in the world were you able to get out of the trap of the sex work as such a young woman?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a crazy story. I so I did it on and off for like a long time, and I could get into how it works, but there's like agencies where, they do everything for you, they bring you clients, and then you can go independent where you're basically kind of, I guess that was my in into entrepreneurship was like
Mhm.
working for myself, getting my own clients. And I had one client that I would see pretty consistently, and we actually never were intimate. We had a very platonic relationship. He was on the spectrum. He just wanted company. So we would spend a lot of time together. And he ended up falling into a really bad scene. He ended up being affiliated with criminals, and he had some mental health issues. And I remember I didn't hear from him for a really long time. And he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to go get dinner? I'm in the hospital. I need you to check me out." So I ended up going to the hospital. I went to like the psych area and I had to sign him out. We went for dinner. We came back to the hospital because he had to go back. And from there, he met someone in the hospital who was in a gang and was going to prison because he was selling illegal weapons and drugs. And I think he actually ended up killing a couple of people with like laced fentanyl and stuff. And he tried to commit suicide, but then they put him in the psych ward to help like assess him, I guess. And this guy looks like Justin Bieber. He was tall,
Wow.
skinny, attractive, and probably in his late 20s. I was in my early 20s at the time. And I remember my client asked me, he's like, "Oh, if I pay you, can you give him a back massage?" So I'm like, "Okay." So I got on top of him, like in the hospital room on the hospital bed and gave him a massage. I remember I was massaging him and he was telling me his story. And I looked down and he had bullet holes in his back. And I remember just like kind of having an odd out of body experience. I'm like, okay, how did I get here? This is
Wow.
not what I initially signed up for. Am I safe? Like, what am I doing? And he had a like makeshift shiv under the bed. And he told me, he's like, "Oh, I'm preparing for, when I get sent away and locked away, like I have to stay on my own. And I'm sleeping with the lights on. I have a shiv under my bed." And so that was like a wake up call for me. But then as I continued to be associated with this client, the people that he was working for, so he ended up selling drugs and working with these guys because that guy who I massaged like went away. So obviously there was a role to be filled. So my client took it on and I still continued to see him. And I remember one day my client told me, "Oh, they found out who you are because you're affiliated with me and you know who they are. And they want to make sure you're safe and you're not going to rat or you're not going to." So they found out my name, they found out where I lived, and I remember getting that message from my client, and I'm like, oh, like the most sinking feeling ever. And I was so afraid, and I went to my friend's house and I slept in her room with her, and I turned my phone off because I was like, what if they track me? What if they know who I am? Because these are bad guys. Like they were on the news. He was showing me articles at the time when I was in that hospital. So I think that event, that fear and not knowing like the extent of the situations I was putting myself into, like, yeah, I was really good at disassociating and I had a secret name, I had a secret life, I could be anyone, but my two worlds collided at that moment. And I thought, fuck, like this is me, this is Erica, they know who I am, and this could like really, really mess with things in my life. And I could get into really, really dangerous situations. Right now, I have an opportunity to get out. So I'm going to take it. And that client actually, who I spent hundreds of hours with him, I reconnected with him like a year or two later, and he couldn't remember who I was. And he had gotten like the shock treatment. I forget what the term of,
Wow.
of it is, because he dealt with depression and they basically damaged a part of his brain for a short-term memory. So he couldn't remember a lot of that time of his life, and he was trying to piece everything together. And like I said, we spent so much time together. And he was a lawyer, like he was studying to do that, and he ended up losing all of that when he started getting affiliated with these people. So that was like my wake up call with it. I never knew that's where it would lead me to, like going down that road. At first, it was just kind of like, oh, this is fun and secretive, and no one has to know about this. And I'm counting hundreds of dollars in my wallet, like taking the train home, and it feels good to be making money. And then now it was like, okay, I'm trading my safety for what?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, good for you because so many times it doesn't end up that way, right?
hmm
And you were able to really escape.
hmm
And so then what came next for you? You did the competition. Um, and now I know at some point you had to move back home.
hmm
Yeah. And so what's next for you?
So yesterday, I actually just announced, we posted it publicly, but I'm building a travel agency for creators with my friend. And I actually met this friend on Bumble BFF back in 2020 when the pandemic hit. Like I struggled to, I guess, meet people who were entrepreneurs and like-minded. So I met this girl and we ended up getting along really well. And so we both love travel and we want to build out this new business that allows creators to travel for free and make content as well, and we'll pay them for it. And on the other side of things, I want to do more content creation and share my story more because this is something that I feel like I'm called to do. There's just been so many signs, and I finally feel like I'm comfortable with who I am and I don't have to hide all these parts of me that I hid for so long. And I even remember there was someone who wanted to interview me for her podcast. We did the whole interview and I never talked about sex work. And then I did tell her afterwards and she decided not to air it. So there are some people that aren't going to accept my story, and I understand that. But I think for the most part, to stay true to who I am, like I need to continue putting out this content and not feeling bad about it because there are so many people out there that need to hear it and know they're not alone in it. Because I think we all have parts of ourselves that are a little bit difficult to accept and face. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for being brave enough to do that because we all have parts of our story that maybe it wasn't in the sex work, but maybe we've done some things in our past that we're not so proud of. And continuing to hide those, keeping them in the shadows actually keeps them alive.
hmm
Not that we're actually supposed to share all of our junk, but you are coming out of the darkness and into the light and shedding the light for so many women to go, you know what? I may not be able to relate exactly to that story, but I definitely put myself in situations that were not healthy and, had relationships with men that weren't healthy or safe or, so I don't see any, doesn't bother me whatsoever. I mean, we all have skeletons in our closet, but I'm proud of your courage more than anything. So thank you for being willing to do that because what you share, what women share with other women, it gives other women permission to go, okay, I've been feeling like I needed to share my story, but
hmm
look at Erica. She shared her story. I'm going to be brave enough to do the same thing.
hmm Yeah, it's so true. And I even think back to like that first podcast that I listened to at my desk. Had that person not gone out there and started talking about entrepreneurship and the reality of entrepreneurship and breaking free from the system, and like I wouldn't be sitting here. Like there's so many people that put themselves out there, and I realize how big of an impact it's had on my life. So I think it's my responsibility now to pay it forward. And it's a ripple effect. Like hopefully I'll inspire some other woman to share their story and then they'll go inspire other women. And it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
this chain reaction.
Yeah, exactly. So let's
Yeah.
talk about healing for just a minute because I know you've been on a massive healing journey. I've been on a massive healing journey. A lot of people don't really understand what that is. So sometimes I talk about I was in a business in my past and we did a lot of personal development. And so a lot of people believe that a healing journey is self help, like looking, reading books and, really just embodying the things that are in the book, or going to conferences and getting, all rah rahed up for your entrepreneurship journey. or telling yourself affirmations. And I think that's such um, a huge disconnect for people to actually do the work that it takes to heal. And I would love to know your perspective on what was your healing journey like?
Yeah. I fell into that trap of like I like how you phrased it, the shelf help. That's funny. I've never heard that. But yeah, I fell into that because I thought, oh, I just need more tools and I need more discipline and I have to go harder at the pavement. And like we kind of all have been there, like when you are in business. And I think I had to hit like rock bottom with losing my business because I was instantly trying to pick up all the pieces and build something new. Like the month that I lost my business, I'm like, okay, I can't like just sit in the silence and sit in nothing. Like I need to build. I'd have to keep momentum. And I tried building something and then it fell apart and I realized I don't want to do this. I have to figure out more of like who I am and let the dust settle. And so it started with I did an ayahuasca ceremony and I flew to Mexico. It was a week-long retreat. There was the ayahuasca, but then there was also like daily yoga. We did hiking. We had like clean eating. It was very community based. Like we were all there. There's 20 of us. We were there for the same reason. Like we wanted to heal a part of ourselves and get answers. And it was really nice to share things like with people that you didn't even know, but we all had that one overlapping thing that we were there for. So that kind of kicked things off for me. I saw a lot of things that I never really knew about myself. It kind of all just came bubbling to the surface because we suppress so much and
Mhm.
we just kind of ball stuff up and throw it to the back into our subconscious because we don't want to deal with it. And it's like, we'll deal with it later. And I think as you age, the body, like it stops protecting you from those things. Like they all kind of come up at one point. And I think they started to all come up for me at that point because I wasn't busy working on my business. It was like sitting there in the discomfort. So I've spent the past year doing therapy like every week. We started doing EMDR, which is eye movement, something reprocessing. So you're basically like not reliving your trauma, but you're taking out the bad stuff and replacing it with better stuff.
Mhm.
And I think the thing for me, if I wanted to try to do all of this like a few years ago, I don't think I would have been able to. I wasn't in a place where I could. Now I realized, okay, like there are a lot of things about myself that I love and I'm proud of, but I know there's a lot of stuff I need to work on. Like I don't like communicating. I don't like confrontation. There are so many triggers too. Like since I've started doing therapy regularly, if I'm having a conversation with someone or if something happens and I'm triggered, I don't get upset. I get excited because it's like, oh, that like is poking something. Something's not healed in me and I need to investigate and figure out what that is. And rather than consuming all this content, which is what I did before, that's what I thought, healing was just like reading things and listening to things and doing things. It's pulling everything away and stripping everything away from the surface and really tuning into you and your body and like what you need. And I think books and stuff are great as tools and you can really piece stuff together. But the real work is when you take everything away and you're left with just yourself. And it's like, are you comfortable with yourself? Are you happy with where you're at in your life? If you're not, why not? Like, what are the things you need to work on? And then actively working on it. And journaling, it seems like so easy, but it's really not. And experiencing emotions seems really easy, but it's not. Like if you feel like you need to cry, go cry. Don't just push it down and say, "Oh, I'm too busy. Like I don't have time to do that," because that stuff bottles up and that's not going to help you heal. And I think a lot of us are taught to just not be emotional. As women, it's like, don't be too emotional,
Right.
stand strong. Like there is the toxic masculinity and men are taught this similar things, but I think women also as well, like we have to be strong. We can't be overly emotional because there's all these stereotypes and stuff, and we haven't really allowed ourselves to feel, especially in professional spaces too, male dominated spaces. And I felt that way for a long time. So I remember just having random days where I sobbed and I couldn't figure out why. And it's like, why am I crying? Clearly, my body's smart enough to know that it needs this release and I'm going to listen to it rather than ignoring it. And I think more of us need to do that. We need to be more intuitive and listen to what our body tells us.
Yeah, allow ourselves to experience those emotions. And that's what the human experience is all about. We're here to experience all emotions, but we're taught stop crying. Here's a tissue, wipe your eyes, go on about your way. And
Mhm.
so those emotions become suppressed within our body. and it causes dis-ease within the body, right? And so eventually, as you age, you may not see it in your body today as a 30-year-old, but as if you continue to suppress your emotions, it is going to come out at some point. You're going to be in your cortisol is going to go way up. You're going to have joint pain, whatever disease process from holding on to all these emotions. I love
Mhm.
that you mentioned plant medicine. I just got off a plant medicine retreat myself, so never done one before. It was very, very mild, but I've done so much healing, so there wasn't a whole lot that came up for me. But one thing about plant medicine that I don't think that people realize is what it does is it actually brings up all of the shadows, all of the stories, all of the self-limiting tapes, and then you have to work through those and reprogram those. And it is you can go deep really quick. But having the tools to actually reprogram those thoughts is the key. So I am not opposed to all things when it comes to my healing, because the stories that we've told ourselves, they just keep replaying over and over and over. The pattern continues until you become aware of that story and are able to rewire that and understand, what, you came into this world as a pure creation. You want to leave this world as a pure soul. So as you come in, so you should come out. So that means the middle piece needs to be all about releasing the things that we have decided about ourselves. And the number of relationships that I've had in my life that played the same freaking story. Like, I continued to attract the same person until I realized, oh, you are not here for me to get approval from. I am here to get approval from me. And it was that same story that played out until it finally was like, okay, I get it. You are a mere reflection of the story that I'm telling myself, because I've attracted you into my life through that story. And so the quicker we realize that this journey really is about releasing these stories. It's a vertical ascension,
Mhm.
and we all believe that we're here on this earth as a horizontal growth. Start with the going to college, and then getting a good career, and then having a baby, and then making a crap ton of money, and then buying all the things. But that's not it. It leaves you, we know this, and you know this as a 30-year-old, that doesn't fill the void that we're searching for. The void is, who am I? That's the
Mhm.
question we're all asking ourselves. Who
Mhm.
am I?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. And coming back to that, who I am, not the roles that we play. I'm a mother, but that isn't who I am. I am an entrepreneur, but that's not who I am either. I'm a wife, but that's not who I am. We have to get rid of those labels and those titles that we believe define who we are, and come down to, the center of the core of the onion after we've peeled back all the layers. And yeah, it's so beautiful. Healing to me is so beautiful. And until you've been on that journey, you don't really understand. It's like every time you feel a little triggered, you're like, okay, what is this little nugget on the other side of it?
Mhm. Yeah, so beautifully said. And I think that's something that I've been learning to face as well, is like the labels that I put on myself.
Mhm.
And not necessarily the labels, it was the meaning that I attached to every single label. So, like the sex worker piece, like I used to think, oh my gosh, that's dirty. I should be embarrassed. There were all these negative feelings and stories that I attached to it. And now, instead of holding shame around it, it's a catalyst for others, and it's empowering as well. Like I've switched around the way that I perceive that and that part of me. I can't just erase it completely. You can't just pretend you didn't do things. You just have to rewrite the script and learn to embrace it and face it.
Mhm.
And even with like failure too, like a lot of people get hung up on failure, and it doesn't have to be just in business. It can be failed relationships, it can be failed careers, whatever it is. Like there's such a stigma around that as well. And looking at it now like, okay, yeah, I tried something that didn't work, but I tried something. And most people will never get the courage to try something, and that's okay. So I'm one step closer to getting something else to work and getting closer to where I'm meant to be. Like you're always going to be, um, I guess, sprung in the right direction. Like you just have to keep making decisions and then you're going to end up where you're meant to be eventually, as long as you keep taking steps forward.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there are any mistakes unless you
Hmm.
choose not to learn from it and do
Hmm.
something different. And I also believe too that, you know what, our past, it couldn't have happened any other way because it's part of our journey.
Hmm.
And when you look at it as it's not a shameful thing, it couldn't have happened any other way. It could not have been different because it wasn't. And that's what makes you the beautiful woman that you are today. All of it. You know, the things that we think are good, they're not necessarily, there's not necessarily good or bad. They just are. They all are that build us into this beautiful creation of really who we truly are innately. So yeah, I love this conversation so much. I mean, healing is just such a huge part of me, but really trying to get people to understand truly what it is. It is feeling the emotions. It's
Hmm.
actually being with the emotions. It's actually being okay with being sad. It's actually learning, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much about myself. And I kind of like myself. I don't have to have people tell me they like me for me to like myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to have people approve of what I'm doing to be okay with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. So awesome. So what's coming up next for you? So you're starting this new creator. So tell me more about this. So that I can understand exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, so there's two sides of it. So there's the one side, I'll give you an example. So when you are in a new city or somewhere and you want to try a new restaurant or a new hotel, you'll either Google it, or a lot of people are using ChatGPT now to find it. And it's based off of how much that's talked about on the internet, whether there's reviews or blogs or whatever. It's based on SEO. So what we offer to businesses in the hospitality industry is different packages. So blogs, reviews, content creation to help them get discovered online. And then on the other half, or the other side of the business, we have creators. So we have nearly 100 creators on our platform, and it's almost like a matchmaking service. So we'll find hotels and restaurants wherever they are, and we'll pair them. So we'll send them out to create content, and they'll take like X amount of pictures, X amount of videos, and we'll provide all of that content over to the business. So we're still new. Like we just launched the website a couple of days ago, and I'm actually heading off to Portugal next week, and I'm kicking off a 3 month trip in Europe. And from there, like I'll do a lot of the testing and the groundwork traveling with a lot of these businesses we're pitching to. So it's really exciting. And I love travel so much, and I really love content creation. So I can tie it into like my personal brand and what I'm trying to do as well on the other side of things with the healing and living life on your terms, not settling for anything that isn't aligned with you and what you want, right? And the things that I don't want right now, I don't want a house, I don't want to get married, I don't want kids, I want to travel, I want to see the world and build a business with one of my close friends. So, yeah, I'm excited for it.
Good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. Exciting. So what, if anything, that you would like to share? Just last few words of advice for anyone listening.
I think what I always tell people to do if they feel stuck, is write the terms and conditions of their like your life. Like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your mornings to look like? How many days a week do you want to work? Where do you want to live? How do you want to feel? Like, these are all things that I did a year ago when I lost my business. A friend actually recommended that I do this. He's like, write the terms and conditions of your life. And if what you're doing right now doesn't get you closer to those terms and conditions, like your ideal life, then you need to reassess what you're doing. Because what I was doing at the time with my last business, Brodo, it was taking me further and further and further away from that life. And I was super out of alignment. So I think it's just a really fun exercise for you to do to really see, like, dig in and get a pen and paper. Don't listen to anything. Don't have TV on. Just sit with yourself and see what comes up. Be like, what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to get married? Where do I want to live? Do I want to have kids? Or if you have kids, I don't know, do I want to move? Do I want to start a new career? It could
Mhm.
be anything. Because I think some people fall into the trap of getting stuck because they're in a career that they've been in for a really long time, or they've been doing something for a really long time, or in a relationship that's not fulfilling them because of all of the time they invested into it. But I don't think that necessarily means you need to stay where you are simply because you've put in the hours. Like you can start over at any time in your life and have something come into your life that's way more fulfilling for you.
Yes, well said. I love that
Yeah.
so much. Thank you for that. So,
Yeah.
such a pleasure. I'm excited for your journey over the next 3 months and can't wait to follow you and see what's happening in that arena. So, you guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. And go follow Erica. Can you tell them what are you Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things?
Yeah. So my name's Erica Rankin, and I'm on all socials excepting Erica with a C.
With the C. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, go follow her so you can see her adventures over the next 3 months and what she's up to, how she's evolving and growing. And Erica, I think there's a book that's will be coming from you, I think. What an amazing story that you have that can touch so many lives. I don't know if you've thought about that, but I'm planting that seed.
Thank
I will
you.
be one of the first to read it for sure. So I'm a huge fan. An honor to be with you. Thank you for sharing your story. And I look forward to a great future together for sure. And just watching you and seeing what's happening in your life. So,
Yeah.
guys, thanks again for being here. And I love you. And I believe in you. Do your work. You are worth it. Your family is worth it. I'll see you next week. God bless.